Hi, my name is John and welcome to today's video. I'll be discussing the 5 essential points and strategies for students to make the most out of their tutoring classes. With the rise of online tutoring in general and about 1 in 4 students using a form of tutoring, whether it's one-on-one, group, in-person or online here in Australia, it's crucial to know how to optimize these sessions as a student as effectively as possible. Otherwise, you will not get the best results. Let's get into it. The first strategy that needs to be done is to ensure you are prepared adequately for the class and for the lesson. Ensure that you have the necessary materials and resources ready prior to the class. If it's a group tutoring class, make sure you do all your homework prior to the lesson, write down a question or two if you need more help in that. If it's a one-on-one class, you already know that you'll be diving into the questions probably more in depth for the questions you got incorrectly. So you need to be really across the questions and homework that you completed, as the tutor will be asking you a lot of questions. This is because for a one-on-one class, they'll be interacting a little bit more in terms of the engagement. But for group classes, you might only have the chance to ask for a question or two if you're unsure about that. The specific preparation will also change depending on the goal, the medium of the tutoring, whether it's online or in person, or even if the subject that is being taught. Before starting a math tutoring class, you can gather your textbooks, your notes, your calculator and writing tools, so you don't have to get this during the class. This preparation allows you to focus more on the learning and work more efficiently during the session. For example, if you're studying calculus in high school, make sure you have the appropriate software tools or graphing calculator so you can actually solve them easily. Even for online classes for maths, you will generally still need paper to do working out before you tell the teacher what and why you think a certain answer is a certain question, or certain question is a certain answer. Similarly, for English tutoring sessions, you can have the required material and spelling book handy. This spelling book could be the words that you write in for any vocabulary or particular words or phrases that you're unsure about the meaning of. This would be more practical compared to if you're just searching up a word on Google or in your dictionary and not writing it down. Keep reference guides such as a style and grammar book are readily available for quick consultation, or previous notes that were written in class, whether it's for our classes at Biggs Academy or another place entirely. The second strategy to make the most out of your tutoring class is to listen to your tutor's guidance and don't hesitate to ask any questions. This also includes following instructions and to be respectful. If you're having a class with your teacher, there needs to be clear expectations that need to be set. A good teacher will always set this from the very beginning to establish what the teacher should be doing and what the student should be doing. It doesn't matter if you're the smartest student or a student who's really struggling and at the end of the class. No matter what, you need to make sure that the lesson aligns with what you want out of it and what the teacher can actually provide in it. If their needs and expectations do not align, you'll quickly find out that it won't work out and it'll be a waste of time and money for both sides. After these expectations have been established, students need to follow the teacher's instructions when it comes to their homework and how the lesson should be run. They should ask questions if they don't understand anything or if they wanted further clarification on a topic. For instance, during a math class, pay close attention to the tutor's explanations and instructions. If you're uncertain about a certain concept, ask your tutor to explain it further or provide additional examples that will help your understanding. You should not speak over the tutor or be rude about this. I once had a student who will be very distracted, speak over me constantly, even though I brought it up and said that shouldn't be allowed, and not listen to whatever I say. Even though the parents begged me to teach them and they were more than willing to pay, I had to politely refuse as they could not follow instructions or answer and ask questions politely. Teachers should also speak to students politely as well. Everything goes both ways in order for a lesson to be effective, but definitely following instructions and asking questions is a key to success in these classes. The third point is to maintain a high level of concentration and be actively participating throughout the session. If you are focused on everything but the class, it will quickly be a waste of time. Your parents won't be happy about that as they're spending time and money into it, and they are under the premise that you're actually benefiting. But if you're not focused or engaged, you're not going to get any help. Students need to know the importance of tutoring and that it is not cheap. As a result, proper rest and attention needs to be maintained throughout the class. There will be times where you'll be feeling tired or less focused, and that's perfectly okay to feel that at times. Whenever you're feeling like that, you just have to let yourself know that you should focus more, motivate yourself, and try to avert your attention back to what is being taught. To remain focused during the class, try to minimize your distractions, such as social media, electronic devices, or keeping your desk quite clear so you're not fidgeting with any toys. Create a quiet environment where you can concentrate and interact with the tutor effectively. You can also ensure that you're focused and engaged by asking questions and providing feedback. If the tutor and student is following strategy number 2, of following instructions and asking questions, this will in turn also help with engagement. Take short breaks to maintain focus and avoid burnout, especially when working on more complex tasks like analyzing a poem or novel in English lessons when you need a little bit more concentration. It's going to be a little bit more difficult in group classes just because even though you want to stay really focused, there might be another student who's going to talk about a different topic or just fidget around and try to avert your attention. In that case, you need to tell yourself, don't focus on the people around you, focus on what the teacher's doing and try to see what you can do so that they can actually focus as well. If everyone's focusing, you will all benefit. In one-on-one classes, if you're just not focusing, it's going to really be on yourself to be very proactive in ensuring there's no distractions around yourself. The penultimate point is to reinforce your learning by taking detailed notes during the session and reviewing them afterwards. Depending on the nature of the class, you may not be able to write as many notes compared to a different type of class. For one-on-one classes, it's pretty much a back and forth talk in terms of discussion with the tutor and the student in terms of questioning and answering certain problems. So you won't really have too much time in terms of writing very detailed notes, otherwise you'll just be following whatever on the screen. For group tutoring classes, the teacher will generally just make you write looking from a board depending on what is being taught, so you are able to write a little bit more notes compared to a one-on-one class. So you can write down as much as you can. However, with all content and learning, writing it down but never reviewing it again is not going to be much beneficial for the student at all. This is why we have homework to help you in a way to indirectly or directly review the content you learned in the previous class so that you're actually reviewing as much as you can and retaining that knowledge. For maths, you might want to record key concepts and formulas discussed during your math class. Afterwards, review your notes and practice problems to solidify your understanding of the material by doing questions that require that concept and formula. During an English class, take notes on the writing techniques and feedback provided by the tutor. Review your notes later and practice applying these techniques to your writing. If you learned the log planning concept for your narrative writing from one of your classes in knowing how to prepare and plan a narrative writing task, you already know that you have to memorize it. Sometimes I teach students who are so engaged during the class, they're so smart, but they don't review what is being taught in the class. And if they don't memorize it or go over it through a review period, sometimes I might have to reteach those students again that same concept as they only remember bits and pieces. We have to spend more time on certain topics again to reteach log if they don't really know about that still than what was originally planned. That pushes out the objectives and timeframes, making it more difficult to prepare for a specific goal like the New South Wales selective exam. And for an important exam like that, if you're only participating very well in the class but you're not reviewing any of the notes that you make, it's not really going to give you much value at all. Finally, the last advice I want to share is to ask for feedback and actually apply it. This is different to questions relating for a specific question, but feedback could be more general or specific depending on your situation. Request constructive feedback from your tutor and use it to improve your own performance. After a math tutoring session, you ask your tutor for feedback on your performance, including areas of strengths and weaknesses or what you can actually do to further refine your skills. Similarly, after an English class, ask your tutor for feedback on your writing, your spelling, or whatever you kind of went over if you need further clarification. They may provide suggestions on organization, clarity, and use of evidence in terms of your writing style. Apply this feedback to enhance your writing skills further. Perhaps the feedback is not really knowledge specific. It could just be about your attitude or your approach, such as you're always typing up your homework when the tutor is supposed to, and they keep saying for you to write it down on paper. Or every time you do your math problems, yes, they're correct, but you're never showing working out, so they actually have to spend more time in the lesson asking you step by step what your process is, when you could have saved a lot more time if you just included that in your working out when you provided it to the teacher. A teacher can provide constructive feedback, but if students do not apply it, there's not going to be much benefit from that either. But in conclusion and in summary, students can make the most out of their tutoring classes if they are prepared, if they follow instructions, they stay focused and engaged, they take some notes, and they ask and apply the feedback that is being taught. I've tried to include examples that are relatable that I think students can benefit from, and the students that I actually teach that I wish that, potentially they could also follow this to a greater degree. But I know that the majority of our students do follow this, whether it's directly or indirectly as well. If you have any further suggestions on what people and students can do in tutoring classes to get even more value from this, write it down in the comments below. I'm sure someone else will really appreciate that. By following these tips, you can improve the value from these classes and ultimately be one step closer in achieving academic goals. Like this video as it helps the YouTube algorithm, subscribe if you haven't already, and keep practicing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.